Stop! Look at this octopus. It looks calm, right? Graceful even. It's not calm. It's dying a little. Every single time it swims, one of its 3 hearts, yes, 3, literally stops beating. And it does this on purpose. By the end of this video, you'll understand why evolution built an animal that has to choose between moving fast and staying alive, why its blood isn't even red, and why this trade-off might be the smartest design flaw in the entire ocean. Stick with me, because by the end, you'll never look at an octopus swimming the same way again. Here's the thing about octopuses, they shouldn't work. Biologically speaking, they're a walking contradiction, or more accurately, a crawling one. No skeleton, blue blood, a brain that's split into 8 smaller mini-brains, 1 for each arm, capable of acting almost independently. And then there's the hearts. 2 of those hearts are called branchial hearts. Their only job is to pump blood through the gills, picking up oxygen. The third, the systemic heart, takes that freshly oxygenated blood and pushes it out to the rest of the body, the arms, the organs, the brain. On paper, that sounds like an upgrade. More hearts should mean more redundancy, more reliability, a built-in backup system. But here's the catch nobody tells you. When an octopus swims, not crawls, but actually jets through open water, the systemic heart stops beating almost entirely. That's not a glitch. That's not the animal malfunctioning. That is the design. And it comes at a real measurable cost. Octopuses get exhausted fast when they swim, which is exactly why you almost never see one swimming freely, unless it absolutely has to. So the question is, why would nature build a circulatory system that partially shuts down during the one activity most animals rely on to escape danger? That seems like a fatal flaw. Let's break down what's actually happening inside that mantle, and why, once you understand it, it stops looking like a flaw at all. To understand this, you need to understand how an octopus actually moves. Octopuses have 2 modes of transport. Mode 1, crawling. They use their arms, suckers gripping rock and reef, moving deliberately, almost lazily, testing every surface as they go. Mode 2, jet propulsion. The octopus pulls water into its mantle cavity, that muscular sac that also houses its gills and most of its organs, then forcefully squeezes it back out through a narrow siphon. Newton's 3rd law does the rest. Water goes one way, octopus rockets the other. Now here's the problem. That same mantle cavity that the octopus squeezes to jet forward is the exact same space where the systemic heart sits. When the mantle muscles contract hard enough to jet the animal forward, they physically compress the systemic heart. It can't pump properly under that kind of pressure. So instead of fighting it, the heart essentially pauses, and blood flow to the rest of the body drops sharply. Physiologists who've studied cephalopod circulation have recorded exactly this pattern. Heart rate drops dramatically during jetting, and in some cases nearly stops altogether during the most intense bursts of swimming. This isn't folklore or an internet myth. It's been measured directly in lab and field studies going back decades. Think about how strange that is. Imagine if every time you sprinted, your own heart partially shut down mid-stride. You'd learn very quickly not to sprint unless your life depended on it. That's exactly the position an octopus is in every single time it swims. And this problem is made even more interesting by something else strange about octopus biology. Their blood isn't red, it's blue. Human blood carries oxygen using hemoglobin, a protein built around iron, which is what gives our blood its red color. Octopus blood uses a completely different protein called hemocyanin, built around copper. That's what turns it blue. Here's why that matters for our heart story. Hemocyanin is a far less efficient oxygen carrier than hemoglobin, especially in warmer water. It works best in cold, oxygen-rich environments, which is exactly where most octopuses live. But it also means the octopus's whole circulatory system is already operating closer to its limits than ours is. So you've got a circulatory system that's already working with a less efficient oxygen-carrying molecule, paired with a main heart that temporarily shuts down under the exact physical conditions created by swimming. That combination is precisely why octopuses fatigue so quickly in open water, and precisely why they've evolved to avoid relying on speed at all. After a burst of jetting, you can actually see this recovery period. The octopus goes still, its mantle pulsing rapidly, essentially repaying an oxygen debt before it can do much else. This is why octopuses are famously bad long-distance swimmers. It's not a fitness problem, it's a hardware limitation built into the architecture of their circulatory system. Every burst of jet propulsion is a mini crisis for their body, so they can only do it in short, expensive bursts, then they need to recover. That's why, most of the time, you'll see an octopus crawling low across the seafloor rather than swimming freely through open water like a fish would. Swimming is their emergency exit, not their commute. And that tells us something deeper about evolution itself. Nature didn't design the perfect animal. It designed a workable one. The octopus's body plan evolved from ancestors that didn't swim much at all. Soft-bodied, shelled mollusks that crawled the seafloor, distant relatives of today's snails and clams. When octopus's ancestors evolved jet propulsion as an escape mechanism, they inherited a circulatory system that was never originally built for the kind of sustained speed a fish enjoys. So that systemic heart shutting off isn't nature failing to plan ahead. It's nature working with what it already had, retrofitting an ancient, slow-moving body plan for a completely new kind of movement, cardiovascular cost included. A fish can swim indefinitely because its entire body, muscles, gills, heart, blood chemistry, is built around swimming as a primary mode of life. An octopus swims like it's borrowing a system that wasn't built for the job, because evolutionarily it wasn't. Here's something that might surprise you. Octopuses aren't the only ones dealing with this. Cuttlefish and squid, their close cephalopod cousins, also have 3 hearts, built on the exact same branchial and systemic heart layout. But squid are actually much stronger swimmers than octopuses, and that's not a coincidence. Squid have evolved additional adaptations, a more streamlined, torpedo-shaped mantle, and stronger, more continuous muscle contractions that let them manage this same cardiac trade-off more efficiently. They're built for a life mostly spent swimming in open water, unlike the octopus, which is built for a life spent crawling along the bottom and hiding. So the octopus isn't uniquely burdened by this 3-heart system. It's just uniquely unsuited to using it for constant swimming, because its whole lifestyle evolved around a different strategy altogether. Take the giant Pacific octopus, one of the largest octopus species on Earth, sometimes reaching arm spans of over 4 meters. Even an animal that size relies primarily on crawling and ambush tactics, not sustained swimming, precisely because size makes the cardiac cost of jetting even steeper. This cardiovascular limitation is also part of why octopuses rely so heavily on camouflage, intelligence, and problem-solving instead of raw speed. If your body punishes you every time you sprint, you get very, very good at not needing to sprint in the first place. An octopus that can blend seamlessly into a rock, squeeze into a crack barely wider than its own eyeball, or bluff a predator with a sudden flash of color and texture, never even needs to trigger that costly cardiac shutdown at all. It simply avoids the situation that would force it to swim in the first place. In other words, the weakness of the heart may have directly driven the evolution of one of the smartest, most adaptable creatures on the planet. The limitation didn't hold the octopus back. It shaped what the octopus became. This is likely one of the evolutionary pressures behind the octopus's famous problem-solving skills, behavior we normally associate with far more advanced animals like crows or primates. When speed isn't an option, intelligence becomes the next best survival tool, and the octopus, more than almost any other invertebrate on Earth, leaned all the way into that trade. Here's a question for you, and I actually want your answer in the comments. If you had to trade long-term stamina for short bursts of speed, like the octopus does, do you think that's a fair trade, or a flaw evolution never quite fixed? Drop your take below. I read every single one, and I'll pin my favourites. If this is the kind of deep dive you didn't know you needed, subscribe to Creaturely. We break down one wild piece of animal biology like this every single week. And trust me, the octopus is just the beginning.